Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu ala man ittaba'al huda. In the name of God, praise be to God. Blessings and peace be upon the messenger of God. Peace be upon those who follow true guidance. Today, I'm making another video, another YouTube video to refute or to rebut another video of Christina Potato, or Potato for short. In this video, I am the one who called and talked to Potato himself. His video is entitled "The Crucifixion of Christ, Proven Even in the Quran, Busting the False Prophets." So in this video, he basically showed a surah, a verse in the Quran, which is surah 157, surah 4 verse 157, which is right here. This is the verse. So basically, he bases his argument around this verse. Okay, let me first start by stating my view, my understanding of this verse, and I believe this is what the verse says. Okay, my understanding is that Jesus was not killed, and he was not crucified, but it was made to appear like he was killed and he was crucified. And this does not involve everyone, but only the killers. Now, why do I say the killers? Only the killers. Because in this verse, it says, because of their saying, we killed Messiah Isa, son of Maryam, the messenger of God. And so the verse focuses only those who said this, who said, we killed Messiah. So the verse focuses only on them. There were people who did not kill him. We cannot generalize this verse to include everyone. Okay, that's one of the problem. That's one of the mistake Christina Potato made. He generalized this verse to mean all the Jews, but we'll get to that later. Right now, let's listen to what he says first, and also notice that he is having a hard time understanding that. When he spent 5 minutes trying to understand, well, actually he wasn't trying to understand anything I said. He was putting words into my mouth. So he spent 5 or 6 minutes doing that before he really gets it. So let's listen to what he said first. They didn't crucify him.
But what happened?
And what happened was, it was made to look like Jesus was crucified.
Thank you.
That's what I said. It was made to look like Jesus was crucified. I did not say someone was made to look like Jesus and that someone was crucified. That's not what I said. But that's what he understood from what I said.
Let's stop here. Our friend Abu, he just said it was made to look like Jesus. Who is the one who made look like Jesus?
No one. It was made to look like Jesus.
Who is the one who made that happen? No. Who is the one who made that person look like Jesus? Who is the one who made it look like Jesus?
See, did you notice? I said, who was the one that made that person? I never said any person was made to look like Jesus. God.
God. What is his name?
He's got 99 names.
Give me one, my friend.
Which
I'm
one
not
do you
interested.
want?
Give me anyone.
Now he's talking about names. Oh, as a side note, Allah is not a name. Okay, lots of non-Muslims, even Muslims themselves, make that kind of mistake. But that's for another topic. If you want to know about it, right now let's just listen to it.
The fat, the short, the tall, I don't care. You've got to have 99 non-one. Even his name is not completed. Ar-Rahman. Okay, Ar-Rahman, guys. Allah Ar-Rahman. This is Rahman al-Yamama. We will go later to Rahman. Remind me so we can laugh. So here you are saying to me that Allah, He made someone look like Jesus in the Quran.
There's a mistake.
And then we saw someone.
No, I didn't say that.
You said Allah, Ar-Rahman, right? Ar-Rahman is not Allah, the different one.
I said Ar-Rahman made it look like Jesus was crucified.
Okay, so Allah, He made someone look like Jesus, right?
There it is again. I did not say God made someone to look like Jesus.
So Allah is not God for you?
He still doesn't get it. What do you mean?
You just said to me that I asked you, who is the one who made this person look like Jesus? You said, my God, he had 99 names. I said, it shows one. You said Ar-Rahman. Okay. So Ar-Rahman is the one who made this person look like Jesus. Do you agree or not?
So he still doesn't get it. So we spent about 5 minutes, talking about this until until eventually, he got it. But that took almost 5 minutes. Let's just skip to where he gets it. Okay.
Alright, so what you are saying, the way I understand you, that Allah created an illusion, like a 3D, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay guys, so Allah, He created illusion, someone in a 3D image, like He have a projector somehow, and He put the image on the cross, and people, they thought that this is Jesus. This is what you are saying, correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. That's mean Allah.
So that was him. Now he gets it. He gets my interpretation. No one was killed, but it was made to look like Jesus was killed. Okay. Now he, I think, at one point he asked me according to which interpretation. Jesus was killed. No one was made to look like Jesus.
So this is according to which interpretation?
The verse itself. So he said according to which interpretation. Okay, well let's look. This is not about any interpretation. It's what the verse says should be. Should be means like, or you could say it was made to appear like. Okay. And let's look at the some of the translations of this verse. Okay, so many of these translations say what I say. For example, Muhammad Assad here. Okay, it only seemed to them. See, it looked like it's like what I said. It was made to appear to them, or yeah, there it is. Pickthall says, but it appeared so unto them, or it was made to appear to them. That's what Yusuf Ali said. It was made to appear to them. Shakir says it was. So we get the general picture here. Many of these translations say the phrase shubbiha lahum here means it was made to look like it. It was made to look like it. It was made to look like Jesus was killed. His translation, which is this one right here, which says, okay, but the resemblance of Isa was put over another man, and they killed that man. Okay, this translation actually came from a controversial, deprecated, or status undetermined work, which is this one right here. We killed Isa, son of Maryam, but they killed him not. But the resemblance of Isa was put over another man, and they killed that man. Okay. He got his translation from a controversial work. So it's not even mainstream. So I'm doing air quotes right now if you can see it. It's not from mainstream translations. I don't know why he chose that translation, while there are dozens of other generally accepted translations. It seems that potatoes trying to be deceiving. Deceitful here. The bottom line here is that my interpretation is not actually a matter of interpretation. It's actually what the verse says. Okay, let's skip to
the one who agreed with the word fool. You said you can say so, no problem. Fool, yeah, he fooled them. So Allah, he fooled them.
So here, the dispute was, I agreed with the word fool. Okay. Now I agree with that word because I can think of another term. I mean, I could explain it to him, but he wouldn't let me explain much. I mean, he always talked over me. So now, since I have all the time I need, let me just explain that to you. No, God did not fool anyone. He fooled with a quotation marks, air quotes. Fooled. Here, let me just write that here. Fool, and then air quotes. See, fooled. He didn't really fool people. So let me just explain what I mean by air quotes fooled. God, air quotes, fooled them by turning the tables on them. Okay, it's God turning the tables on the killers. They deceived people when they tried to legalize the punishment, God let them have a taste of their own medicine. When the punishment wasn't meted out on Jesus at all, they punished no one except themselves, and they deceived no one except themselves. This is what God did. He did not deceive anyone. They deceived them. They deceived themselves. The believers and followers of Jesus knew he wasn't killed. All right, and then let's look at another part here. Let's move on.
Literally, did they believe in the crucifixion literally or did not?
Okay. Who's they?
The Jews.
Yes, the killers. Yes, the killers. Not just the Jews, but the killers.
The killers.
Only the killers.
Only the killers. So the people who were there, they would not notice that?
Yes.
The rest of the people, they did not see someone on the cross?
So that's what I said earlier. Only the killers saw that Jesus was crucified and killed. Okay? No one else, just the killers.
That's correct.
Where do you get this story?
Those believers.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, hold on.
Okay, see? He asked me, where I got this from. He asked me about where I got this from, and he wouldn't let me talk. He would talk over me. Now, let's answer that question. Where I got this from? I got it from the verse itself. It says, because of their saying, we killed Messiah Isa. Okay? It's talking about those who said, we killed Messiah Isa. That's it. It's not talking about all the Jews. All the Jews, okay? It's talking about those who killed Isa. Those who killed Jesus. Those who said they killed Jesus. Okay. Well, we'll get to that later. Okay. Now let's look at let's hit play and listen to it a little bit more.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. When the Quran says, قَوْلَهُمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا عِيسَى, who is the one saying that?
Okay, first of all, that's not the verse. He recited it wrongly. Okay. I didn't correct him. But he recited it wrong. He said, let's listen to him again.
Okay, hold on. When the Quran says, قَوْلَهُمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا عِيسَى, who is the one?
He said, قَوْلَهُمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا عِيسَى. That's not what the verse says. Okay, the verse actually says here, وَقَوْلِهِمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا الْمَسِيحَ عِيسَى. Not قَوْلَهُمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا عِيسَى. That's not what it says. Or, you don't have to believe me. You can just listen to it being recited here.
وقولهم إنا قتلنا المسيح عيسى ابن مريم رسول الله.
That's the actual verse. Okay. And then we'll go to the part where he asks me which scholar agrees with me.
Sure.
Yes, I'm sure.
If there's any scholar agree with you? No,
The
right?
Quran does.
No, the Quran does not. Here we go.
See? So he asked me which scholar agrees with me. It's not about scholars. It's about the verse itself. I just told you I just showed you what the verse says and what translators translated it as. For example, like I said here, it only seemed to them, it appeared to them, it was made to appear, and so on. Okay? And them refers to those who said, we slew the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary. Okay? Alright. So it's not about scholars, it's about what the verse says. Let's just listen to him
No.
more.
You don't know what you are talking about. Chapter 5, verse number 70. Read it for us.
Chapter 5, verse what?
Number 70.
5, 7. Hang on, let me...
5.
So this is the verse he showed to say that, to prove that all Jews either lie or they kill. Okay, not just some. Okay, not just some kill and some lie. They all lie and they all kill. Okay, and he said, I changed my mind about who was fooled. Okay, I never did that. Okay, I never changed my mind about that. From the beginning, I was consistently saying that only the killers were, air quotes, fooled. Okay, no one else was fooled. Air quotes. Okay. Let's listen to him say that about me.
They should agree that Allah, He fooled the Jews. And then you change your mind, you say He fooled some of them. But the Quran says clearly, that no, this is not what happened, my friend. The Jews, all of them, they are a bunch of killers. All of them. There's no exception.
So that's it. He said, this verse says, all of them are killers. All of them are liars. Okay? The problem is, we shouldn't be generalizing the word Jews to mean all Jews. I mean, if you look at this verse, and the verse right, okay, let's just open that verse, okay? Okay, so this is the verse that he was, talking about, okay? Verse 70 of Surah 5, okay? He's saying that these words, this word that occurs so many times in this verse, all refer to the whole Jewish population, all of them. Okay. When I said no, it's not talking about all of them. It's talking about those who did not desire what the messenger came with. Okay, there were also those who desired what the messenger delivered. And where do we find it? How do I know that there were those who desired what the messenger delivered? Well, all we need to do is just look at one verse before that, which is verse 69. Verse 69 says, surely those who believe in the oneness of God, those who are the Jews, okay, On them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. Just one verse before verse 70 talks about those Jews that will have no fear and no grief. So how could you take this verse and to mean all Jews when just one verse before that talks about Jews having no fear and will be having no grief? That is why I said we cannot generalize the word Jews or the word children of Israel to mean all of them. Look at the context. The context says, whenever there came to them, all of them, a messenger with what they desired, with what they themselves desired not. So they're talking about those Jews who desired not. But there were Jews that did desire what the messengers came with or delivered. Those are the ones that are promised heaven, where they will be having no fear and no grief. In verse 69. Okay? How could you... I don't know how he could generalize this. For example, let's just say that we have 5 Jews, okay? 5 Jews and 1 messenger, okay? Is he saying that if one Jew right here did not agree with the messenger, with something the messenger said, is he saying that just because one of them disagrees with one of the things that the messenger delivered, all of them, all 5 of these Jews will be killing him? Is that what he's saying? Because that doesn't make sense. Just because one doesn't agree, not all of them will be killing him. Only those who would disagree with the messenger would probably act the way the Quran described. Call him a liar, or kill him. But not all of the Jews. I mean, he shouldn't be generalizing the word Jews like that. Let's try to apply this to the Bible, okay? Even the Bible says, the Jews killed Jesus Christ. Okay, let's bring that verses up. Okay, here it is. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, 14 to 15. Okay, so it says, "For you, brothers and sisters, became imitators of God's churches in Judea, which are in Jesus Christ. You suffered from your own people the same things these churches suffered from the Jews." Okay, suffered from the Jews who killed the Lord Jesus and the prophets. Okay, it says right here, the Jews killed the Lord Jesus. Did all the Jews kill Jesus? I mean, most of Jesus's followers and disciples, and even Jesus himself was, they were Jews. Did Jesus kill himself? Did the disciples kill him? Did his followers kill Jesus? No, of course not. Just some of them, but it doesn't stop the Bible from saying the Jews, from the Jews who killed the Lord Jesus. So this is why you don't generalize the word Jew. Look at the context, okay? Now let's move forward to where he asked who were killed.
Chapter 5 verse number 70 says, that the Jews, they killed some of the prophet and some they accused him to be a prophet. So they killed many prophets. Can you name for me one prophet the Jews killed according to Islam?
I cannot.
Why you cannot?
I cannot, name any prophet that they killed.
So you've got Allah, He had time to tell us about the ant. Hold on. So you've got Allah have time to tell us about Sulaiman. He heard the ants speaking to the ants, but yet He don't have time to tell us about such an important matter, about the prophet of God who been slaughtered, and Allah forgot to mention them. Allah have time to tell us about the flying carpet of Sulaiman, but He don't have time to give us one name of a prophet of God the Jews they killed. Allah have time to say any woman she want to give her vagina to the prophet so he can F her, but He don't have time to tell us about such an important matter about the prophet of God was sent to the Jews and the Jews killed him. I mean, what kind of book and what kind of God this God is?
Okay, so that's it. Okay, so he asked me what the names of the prophets that were killed were. And I said, I don't know, because it's not revealed. So he went on saying God has God has time to tell us about this and this, about ants, but not who was killed. I can do the same thing to him. I can ask him the same thing. What was the name of Cain's wife? Does he know? What was the name of Lot's wife? Okay. And if he said, of course it's not mentioned. No one knows. What Cain's wife's name was or Lot's wife's was. Okay, so Yahweh has the time to tell us about how big the penises of some people in Egypt were and how much semen they ejaculated, but doesn't have time to tell us the names of the first man's daughter-in-law and the wife of so-called righteous Lot. Is that it? Is that how we're gonna do this? Is that how you want to do this? Just because it's a name is not mentioned or something is not mentioned or how something happens is not mentioned, it doesn't mean that it's not from God, right? Okay. Now he asked me. I asked him, since the Bible also says that Jews killed prophets. So I asked him, who was killed by Jews? Which prophet was killed by Jews? And here's his answer to that.
When someone is very close to Jesus, John the Baptist, he was killed for standing against the corruption of the Jews.
So that's it. So the Jews, according to him, killed John the Baptist. Okay, and let's just skip ahead to where he tried to prove that the killer was a Jew. Okay, here it is, him trying to prove that the killer was a Jew, the killer of John the Baptist.
My friend, the ruler who is against Jesus, he is, let us say, he is a person who is adopting the Jew, and the Jew, they support him, and they went against John the Baptist. So the king, he cannot just go and do as he wish alone if he don't get the support. So the Jews, they are against John the Baptist, and they are promoting their corruption, and they kill John the Baptist.
So he was saying that the ruler adopted the Jews. I think he meant Judaism, and then Jews supported him, and the Jews were against John the Baptist. Okay, now I don't know where he got that from, I mean, okay, let's look at who killed John the Baptist from the Bible. Okay, what we have here is Matthew 14. Okay, at that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the reports about Jesus. Okay, now Herod had arrested John and bound him. Okay, and put him in prison because of Herodias. So Herod wanted to kill John, but he was afraid of the people because they considered John a prophet. He was afraid of the people. Who was the people? Who was the people and who considered him a prophet? The Jews. The Jews were not against John the Baptist. The Jews loved John the Baptist. They considered him a prophet. So that was his lie. The Jews were not against John the Baptist. Okay? And it was him that killed John the Baptist, not Jews. The Jews were not supporting him. Okay? The Jews considered him a prophet. So that was a lie, right? Okay. So it was Herod the Tetrarch. Okay? I don't know how he said he was a Jew. Okay? Let's look at Herod the Tetrarch here. Okay. So Herod Antipas, son of Herod the First the Great, who became Tetrarch of Galilee and ruled throughout Jesus of Nazareth's ministry. Okay? Okay. If you look here, nothing here says that he was a Jew. Okay? Nothing at all. I don't know where he got, this guy, this Herod Antipas, being Herod the Tetrarch. Okay? I don't know where he got his information from that he was a Jew. Okay, he may have, confused this guy for his father. Well, his father, Herod the Great, yes, he was brought up as a Jew because his father was converted to the Jewish faith. Okay, it says here his father Antipater was an Edomite. Okay, Edomite. I don't know how it's pronounced. Okay, but he was not a Jew. Okay, he was his father. Herod the Tetrarch's father was brought up as a Jew. Okay, fine. But he was not a Jew ethnically. And it was his father that was brought up as a Jew, not his son. Okay? Herod the Tetrarch was not brought up as a Jew. Okay? So, no, it wasn't a Jew that killed John the Baptist. And the Jews were not supporting him in killing John the Baptist. So, that's a lie over there, okay? Also, looking at the replay of the chat here, I noticed that this guy, Svetla, he said that Zechariah, the son of Bechariah, was mentioned by Jesus besides John the Baptist, and that's actually an interesting thing he said there, which is I'm gonna go to that in a moment, but here, John Ward says that unless you say he was an Edomian, an Arab, which he was, Herod, King Herod was, of Arab descent. Okay, he was not a Jew. Okay, so he knows better than potato. Okay, but let's get back to Zechariah, the son of. Well, actually, it's not the son of Bechariah. It's actually the son of Berechiah. Let's get away from the topic for a moment here to talk about Zechariah, son of Berechiah. Okay. Now, one thing about Zechariah, son of Berechiah or Berechiah, I don't know how it's pronounced exactly, is that it's mentioned. His name is mentioned by Jesus in Matthew 23:35. Okay, in this verse it says that, and so upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Okay, now Matthew suggests that Zechariah, son of Berechiah, was murdered between the temple and the altar. However, throughout the whole Bible, if you go by one, book by book, no one by this name was ever murdered between the temple and the altar. The only person who died this way was Zechariah, but another Zechariah. It was Zechariah, son of Jehoiada. Yahoiada. That's the name of the person that died between the temple and the altar. And his story is told in 2 Chronicles 24:20-21. Okay, here it is. Then the Spirit of God came on Zechariah, son of Jehoiada, the priest. Okay, this is what God says. He has spoken, but they plotted against him, and by the order of the king, they stoned him in the courtyard of the Lord's temple. That's the only Zechariah that died within, the courtyard of the temple or the altar. Okay. There was a Zechariah, son of Berechiah, in the Old Testament, in Zechariah 1:1, but his death is never mentioned, let alone being murdered around the temple. So I think it was either Jesus or Matthew that was confused between the two. Okay, so that's the interesting part of Zechariah, son of Berechiah. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to the video now. Okay. So here, Potato talks about ants, okay, and how science says ants don't talk, not by speech, or not by speech or mouths. They talk using vibration and chemical. Let's listen to him.
Science says that ants, they can talk, yes, but not by talking, not by speeches. They talk by vibration or by chemical. So how Sulaiman he heard their speech?
Okay, so that's what he said. Okay, first of all, we cannot be hung up on terms because scientific and medical terms didn't exist back then. God was using terms that the immediate audience would understand. Okay, so he used talk, but don't get hung up on that. It doesn't really mean talk. It means communicate. If we're hung up on terms like that, that's how you get words like unicorn, okay, in the Bible, or words like satyrs in the Bible. We know that those don't exist, but because of the lack of scientific terms and medical terms back in the past, those are the words that had to be used, that they thought was that they thought were appropriate to use. But now, since science has advanced, now we know that those words shouldn't be in the Bible. Those aren't the correct translation. Okay. So he said that ants don't talk. Okay, they use chemical. Well, there is an article from Science magazine that says that ants do talk. So that's something. Can communicate via sound. That's what it says. And it says here, it seems it was as if the mature pupae were saying help, while the adults were saying, hey, I'm over here, please come help, it's your friend. Okay, so science says that maybe ants do talk. Okay, but speaking of talking, the Bible also says that there are talking snakes. The serpents. You remember that? How did that talk? Could you explain to us how that thing talked, or maybe how the donkey talks? The Prophet Balaam's donkey. And how did that talk? Could he or anyone tell me how they talked? Now, things like that, I don't think you should be questioning. Those are the mysteries, of our books. We can't explain everything, okay? Not even, Christians. So I don't think you should be questioning that or basing your argument basing your arguments on those mysteries. Okay, all right, let's get back to the topic. Okay, now let's move on to the part where he talks about Surah 570. Okay,
children of Israel, and we send them messenger, them who children of Israel, whenever come to them who children of Israel, a messenger, that they who children of Israel desire not, who children of Israel, a group of them they call dire, a group of who? Prophet.
Stop right there.
okay. So, like I said before, okay, sure, yes, them who, children of Israel, them who, children of Israel. But when it comes here, the word with what they themselves desired not, they no longer talks about all the children of Israel. Okay, it only talks about those who desired not what the messenger came with. Okay, like I said before, if you have 5 Jews, one of them doesn't like what the messenger says, not all of them are going to kill the messenger. Maybe just that one person that disagreed with the messenger, but not all of them. Okay, and how do I know this? Well, first of all, logic, and then there was that verse, just one verse before the verse that I was talking about, that says those Jews, those who are Jews, will have no fear and no grief in the hereafter. Okay, so I think I have made it clear what my position is. Okay, my position is that Jesus wasn't killed. He wasn't crucified either. But he was made to appear like he was crucified. But that did not appear to everyone, to all the Jews. It only appeared to those who wanted to kill him, to the killers, to those who said, "We killed Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary." Only to those people. The rest, those who did not want to kill him, those real Christians or followers or believers of Jesus, they saw no one being killed. They knew that Jesus wasn't killed. Now, why God did that? Now, why God did what he did? He made it look like Jesus was killed to the killers, but he wasn't. Well, first of all, it was to save Jesus. Okay? If even the killers knew that Jesus wasn't killed or crucified, they might continue looking for Jesus, and they might continue trying to kill Jesus. But since he looked like he was killed, now they were satisfied. Okay, because to them there was no more Jesus to kill. Second, people say this is a deception. No, it's not. It's not a deception. It's not God fooling anyone. It's God turning the tables on the killers. The killers, they deceived people in trying to legalize the punishment. Okay? But God let them have a taste of their own medicine when the punishment wasn't meted out on Jesus at all. They punished no one except themselves, and they deceived no one except themselves. The real believers of Jesus knew that he wasn't killed, so they were happy. So what happened after that? Okay, if the believers of Jesus, the real Christians, if they knew that Jesus wasn't killed, then how did we, get this brand of Christianity where, Jesus is killed? Well, I have a theory. That's where the word doubt comes into play. So you had the followers of Jesus saying, Jesus wasn't killed, and they preached this, and you had the killers who said Jesus was killed. Those who weren't around when Jesus was supposedly crucified had to decide who to believe. The killers who said, Jesus was killed, or the followers of Jesus who said Jesus wasn't killed? Since, the being the more powerful people, these killers, what the killers said eventually became the dominant belief, and the Christianity that we have now came from those killers. Real Christians, the followers of Jesus and the disciples of Jesus, those who believed that Jesus was saved, became fewer and fewer to the point that there are no more to be found. So what the Christianity that we have now did not come from real followers of Jesus. They came from the killers. They say history is written by victors, and the killers were obviously the victors. And the Bible that we have now is the history that those victors wrote. And Christianity, current Christianity, came from those victors, the killers. And that's my theory. I welcome any rebuttal, any refutation from anyone. Okay. I guess this is the end of my video. If you want me to talk about, the word Allah, I'll be happy to do so. But you have to, you gotta let me know, okay? And with that, I thank you. Goodbye.